today will be my first attempt at making a coffee pot holder with a box that I had from Amazon. I have them laying all around. I said, let me try to see what I can do with it today. So I took the box and I was it took me a minute to figure out how I could possibly use it as a coffee pot holder. So I decided this would be the drawer and I would have to build something around it, but this would be the drawer that would slide in and out and hold the coffee pots. So I really didn't know what I was doing at this point, but I said, okay, I'll take this here piece of wood that I got from Dollar Tree. And I said, I'll just measure out the length of 2 pieces to see exactly, for the height of where my coffee pots would go. I wanted to make sure I had a depth that would be conducive for the pots. So I went on and marked the box to where I wanted to go ahead and cut it down because, of course, it was way too tall. It didn't need to be that tall, but it was a perfect size as far as the depth of it. So I measured it all the way around, and so I can just take a utility knife or a something that you might have that you can just cut around it real easily. I wouldn't use scissors because it's just too cumbersome, so just find a nice utility knife that you can use to do that. And just cut around and get it even as possible all the way around. So if you use something to measure it all the way around and mark it, you should be fine, whether it's a ruler or something like what I did. Now, as I said, I am literally I'm making this as I go. I really don't have a big plan. I'm thinking as I go, which is often how I do a project. So you'll see how it turns out, and I'll tell you what mistakes I made and what you can do better. And you might have some ideas of what I could have done better as far as even what I used. So I'm always trying to look for something that people can use and that I can use, and you can have some fun making it and kind of like say, yeah, I made that and whatever. And that's going to be cost effective as well, because I was going to purchase one and I believe it was I think it was $30. And I said, I'm not spending $30 on a coffee pot holder for my NESPRESSO machine. The machine goes on top of it. So that's why I started to make it. So I went on and cut it down in half or whatever I needed to cut off. And I took a piece of the top of the box to fill the inside so it didn't have a gap. So because you see the folds there. So I took a piece, cut it, and of course it's going to fit right in there perfectly. And that's from the part that I cut off. And I can glue that piece that I've just cut right into the center, and that's going to make it even and flush. So as you won't see that dip. So that's what I figured at this point. That would be fine for that. And I'm going to go ahead and glue that into place. And I did want to glue everything because the box, of course, you know how a box is. It's not glued down. And you just want to glue it and make sure everything's in place and it's not going to come out of place. So once I got it all measured out properly, and I'm going to just use some adhesive, some good adhesive, just get it down. Everything's going to stay in place nicely. Let's get that on there and get that piece in place. I probably used more glue than I needed to because I actually ended up using paper just to cover it. So you might not even have to glue it. It's just an extra step I took. But looking back, I probably could have just avoided that step. But I still would use the piece in the center to make it even all the way across. That is definitely something I would do moving forward no matter what. So then once that's done, now I got this black paper from Dollar Tree. It's like a chalk paper, so kind of chipped easily. So I don't think I would use this paper again, just moving forward. So if you have something like a contact paper that you might want to use, or if you find a black paper that's going to be suitable for the project, whatever color you want to use, that's fine. But I wouldn't use this paper again because it was like very easy to nick, and you can see the white. And then I found myself repairing it more than I should have. So you just want to measure. And also what I learned is just cover the entire box, inside and out, with whatever paper you're going to use. So whatever way is easiest for you to go ahead and measure everything out, measure it out and cover it up. And what I did was, for the inside layer that was on the bottom where the pods will go, I doubled the paper in that area so you wouldn't see any grooves at all. So that was my point in doing that. I didn't want to see, even though I did put something across on the inside, you can kind of see where there's a groove. So I didn't want to see the groove, so I added another piece of paper inside. So that was the only area that I actually doubled. And of course, you want to go ahead and do all of your edges and work all the way around and get the box completely covered. Now, as I'm doing this part of the project, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to use to build around because this is the drawer, and I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to use to actually encase the drawer. So I'm pasting, cutting, and thinking at the same time, which is pretty much, like I said, what I often do. But I got there, and I will show you how it all turned out. Just wait to the end. And, there are little things along the way that I'll show you that'll make it easier for you if you decide to do it. So just make sure you watch the whole video in case you decide you want to do it. You don't want to miss anything, because I'm going to tell you some things that to do and not to do. Now, I did pretty much almost finish wrapping the box at this point. And then I proceeded to see how my coffee pods would look in the box, or how I wanted to place them in the box. So I also grabbed these little trays from Dollar Tree. They're clear plastic trays with the gold trim on them. So I said they might look nice in there. I didn't know how they would fit, and I just wanted to give it a look, and just to see if I wanted to use those or if I wanted to do them in a row. And so I went on just to give it, I'm working on it and giving myself some ideas at the same time, just to see what would work. So I went on to place them all in there, and it looks fine, and it actually is fine. But I kind of wanted that whole row look where they're all in one row and you can see all your flavors in a row. Because the way I have it like this, you'd have to pull the drawer all the way out to get to the ones in the back, which is no problem as well. But aesthetically, this isn't what I was going for. So I'm just playing around with it and just to see how it will look. So you might decide to do something like this. So this is an alternative, because you can get a lot more in doing this alternative. You can get a lot more pods in there. The way I did it, I can get 15 in. This way you have about 20, 25 in there. So you get a lot more in there. So I have these pieces of wood. These are the pieces of wood I picked up from Dollar Tree. And so I spent about $5 on wood. And you want to glue your pieces together. Now I'm making the encasing part. So I'm taking some wood glue so that, of course, we don't want it falling apart. And I'm going to put 2 pieces together and then another 2 pieces together. And that's going to be for the sides. And then for the back, I actually put a piece across the back of the piece that I'm going to use on the top. You'll see that, just to extend it. But really, this is the most I've done as far as just the sides, and then I have something else for the top. So what I recommend is, if you're going to paint it, paint the wood beforehand. Do all your wood, get it all painted and dried before you even do anything with it. I did it last, and that was not the way to go. I promise you. So I found this certificate holder frame. So I used this because it had the right length that I needed. And I took the little tabs off the back because it's to hang, those hanging tabs. and I'm putting those away for use for later for another project. Because if you're going to go if you're making a project, sometimes you need something to hang your project so you can actually glue this onto it, or adhere it to whatever project you're working on, just to hang whatever it is you need to hang. I might use it for a sconce later. So I always hold on to those. We're going to remove the backing, and it does have a glass, and I'm going to leave the glass in place, and I'm going to show you what I ended up doing. So I removed the backing, and I found this paper that was really pretty. This is a new paper at Dollar Tree. I haven't seen it before. It's my first time seeing it, and I thought the blue would match my kitchen. So I went on and cut that out to the size that I needed for the inside of the frame. And we're going to go, and I won't even take off the adhesive part in the back. You're just going to just cut it, put it in there, and put your, the backing back on. So once I got that all cut out, that's what I'm going to do moving forward. And pick out a piece of paper that's going to look nice in your space. So this one looks nice in my space. Just find something that will look nice in your space. This paper is $1.25 at Dollar Tree. You can use some contact paper and cut it out. You get more bang for your buck with the contact paper. And even with that, you don't have to remove the backing and expose the adhesive. So you don't even have to worry about that. So just find something that's going to look good in your space. So once I got that cut out, I went on and put it, I didn't even remove the glass. I put it right on top of the glass. And then I have to put the piece in, which I forgot for a second there, the backing. Put the backing on and just put your little tabs back down there, put everything right back in place. And then put a piece of wood, a thin piece of wood from Dollar Tree, right on that backing. Glue that on there to make it nice and secure, because when you turn this over and put it as a top, your coffee pot's going to sit on top of it. So you want it to have that reinforcement of a thin piece of wood or anything that's going to make it a little more secure. So I should have done that at this point. Moving on, that's what I would have done differently. Now at this point, I've glued my sides onto the frame. And now I'm painting it. Again, I would have done this in advance. I would advise, if you're going to do this project, get everything painted in advance and save yourself the trouble. It was messy. It was like a little bit of a, like, oh, okay, woosah. I had a woosah a few times. So just take your time, get all your pieces painted. Whatever you're going to do, you can do a coffee stain on them, dip them in coffee and let it sit for, I think, about an hour or so. And you can have a nice coffee stain or a color, whatever you like, but just do it in advance. Because if you do it when the project is put together, it's a lot more cumbersome. It really is. So just do yourself a favor. So now it's all put together, and I have to put the handle onto the drawer. So I've made the encasing, and the handle has to go onto the drawer. And I realized that the screws were too long. So we reinforced it on the inside. My son helped me. We took some Jenga blocks and we put a hole in the Jenga block to use because it was too much space. So if you screwed it in all the way, it was hanging in the front by quite a bit. So it's 2 Jenga blocks on each side just to make it sturdy and it's tight. And then I also ended up using 2 skewers. Have a pack of skewers from Dollar Tree to separate all of my pods. So I have 3 rows of pods, and I secured it with hot glue. And it's not meant to be there forever. If you use something that's a little sturdier, you might find something, but this is good for the time being. So everything's put together. You see how messy it looks because I painted it while it was put together? That's what I'm talking about. And that is irking my nerves. So I'll probably go back and fix everything. I might make a brand new one. And you see how I put the wood on the inside underneath where the glass would be? So even though the frame is there, all of that's there, you need to put something to reinforce it because you're putting a coffee pot on top of it. and it slides in and out perfectly. I put a piece of wood across the back just to extend it. It's on the frame, and it's working. It's working perfectly. So this is how it ended up. So I can slide it in and out perfectly. The coffee pot's on top of it. My Nespresso machine is on top of there, and that's it. So let me know if you decide to make it and what you would have done differently, even for a drawer, because I used a box, an Amazon box. They're coming in handy these days, aren't they? But I think it came out pretty decent. I really do. Let me know what you would do differently and how you like it, and I would really love to hear from you. My Nespresso holder at a fraction of the cost. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you again soon.